Tonight's topic is on flipping property. And so, if you're an investor, this is obviously a great topic for you. There you go, Lorraine. But really, if you're an agent like Zach, like me, this is potentially a really, really profitable way to work with clients. So I'm excited to have tonight's conversation. My name, most of you know, is Matt Greene. I'm an agent with Coldwell Banker in Old City. I am an investor myself. I have investment properties. I've invested in subdivisions, but my passion is really working with great investors like Lorraine in identifying properties and marketing those properties for sale. Lorraine is our guest this evening. Lorraine's company is called House to Homes. She runs that with her sister Sharon and their brother Herbert. Lorraine, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction into how you got into this space and kind of the Cliff Notes version of who you are.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. We're still connected. My name is Lorraine Davidson. I am a musician by night and an investor by day. How we got into this, it was just wanting a change, really. I think I hit the turn of the century and I just wanted something different. So we ventured out, we just took a risk and ventured out into unknown territory and just gave it a shot, really. Nothing more than that. I like rehabbing historical and restoring historical properties. And I think that's basically our niche. I like doing that and, making them nice. This is just basic.
Lauren, I've got to ask you because, I have worked with, I can't take a guess, but I would say 30, 40 investors, 50 maybe, throughout my career, as well as some really big builders. And, the work that you guys do is exceptional. To hear you say that you just kind of hit a certain point in your life and wanted to give it a shot. I mean, how did you find the contractors that you're working with, and how did you get so good at what you do?
I don't know what to tell you, Matt. The contractors really, in our church, it's a church base. We had a lot of contractors in our church, and we started with that. We started with people that we knew, and we kind of just pulled everybody together, and they gave us advice, and really tapped into everyone who we needed to get advice to get started. Basically, that was it. It really wasn't anything more than that. Just having an eye for certain things, wanting to give a product that I would want for myself. So basically, whenever we do a property, that's basically how I think. What would I want for myself? What I'm going to give to someone who's going to move into this house. That's basically it. When we do the properties, that's what we think about.
I love it. All right, so for all of you who have not joined these meetings before, just to give a quick intro into Grid. Grid is a meeting place, a mecca for investors. And the idea of Grid is that it's hyper-local. So although there are now over 17,000 members in Grid in various chapters all around the US, Grid Philly is dedicated to investing in Philadelphia, which is why I have great guests like Lorraine Davidson, who can not only educate us in her experience on flipping property, but flipping property specific to Philadelphia, not to another city. Before we run into it, or jump into it, I should say, just a quick legal disclaimer. All of the information shared tonight is just our opinion. You should always do your due diligence when getting into a real estate project. And I'm going to just kind of go through these slides quickly because I'd really like to get into some of Lorraine's projects so she can share with us what has gone right and maybe in some cases what hasn't gone right, so that anybody out there who's either looking to flip a property or has clients that are flipping property can learn from this, because that's what this is really all about. All right, so step one, be prepared. Time is money. Let me just get my screen down here. All right, so this is pretty basic stuff, guys. Do your research on finishes in the market. Build what sells, not the home of your dreams. Lorraine, I want to ask you, how do you keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the market? Or is it just as simple as like getting on Zillow and looking at stuff?
I comb through everything, Mike. I'm a late nighter and I stay up late just doing my research, just combing through whatever area I'm going in. If I'm going in a particular area that I'm not familiar with, I comb through what's there, what's selling, what the finishes look like, how much it's selling for. That determines whether or not I want to go in there or not, too.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that I would say about this is, I would discourage investors, and Ryan, you're really good at this, from playing follow the leader. We see a lot of the same stuff out there, the same white shaker cabinet and white subway style backsplash and white everything and, brushed nickel cabinet pools. And, so I think there's a fine line between not going too, far out into outer space, but also building a product that is differentiated in the market. All right. Second tip, get design and drafting help for plans and permits. This can take weeks in some areas. Lorraine, how do you approach that with your projects?
Something I learned, as soon as you know you're going to closing, you can start applying for permits. It's okay to get the permits in the previous owner's name. It really doesn't matter, because even sometimes after purchase, they haven't changed it, and it'll still be in the previous owner's name anyway. So if you're sure you're getting the property you're going to close in, just apply for your permit with your contractor and get started.
All right, awesome. Ensure permits, contractors, dumpsters, utilities are ready for the day you close, if not before. Consider getting a home warranty. I've never actually done this. That's an interesting idea. I actually have to look into that. So stay tuned on that one. All right, let's do.
You get insurance, right, and builder's risk for sure.
Introduce yourself to the neighbors. Lorraine, I'm thinking about Greene Street. Do you do this? I'm sure, when people are hearing hammers and saws and everything going on, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, they may not be so happy about it. How do you approach this?
Okay, we did try. Well, I'm going to give you an example of this, but you know about Greene Street. So we did knock on the neighbor's door, both left and right, and we didn't get the guy on the left. He was actually the block captain. We never got him. So on the day of demo, he called the cops. He called the cops on us, and he apologized afterwards. Went in and told my contractors to stop. So we kind of make it up. We made it up along the way. And the other neighbor, on the other hand, she was so grateful. We helped her getting a water problem that she had for years. Last week we met with like 3 bottles of wine and crackers and cheese. She was so grateful. But yeah, talking to the neighbors, making sure they know what you're doing. Let them feel included, because then they'll either give you a problem, or tell you, call the cops. I remember rugby too. They call the cops every time we knocked after 5, 6, or 7. I think there's a time set, and she'll remind us that you can't knock a hammer after a certain time. So making friends with them is a good idea, and I think we've tried to do that a lot, and it gets you a long way.
Good. All right, lock down your contractors with good scopes of work. Time invested in getting specific on materials, scheduling responsibilities will pay off later. You'd rather have them call the city, code enforcement, etc., if there is a problem. Let's go to the next one. Consider a GC. Now, guys, I want to just say this. This is grid material, so a lot of this stuff I may not even be familiar with. Lorraine, when you read this slide, what does this mean to you? Does this mean like you as the investor can be the project manager and hire out a bunch of subs versus a general contractor who will assume that role? Am I interpreting this right?
Well, for us, Sharon is a GC.
Okay.
Sharon is our GC, and we have an assistant GC, which would be our foreman. He's an assistant, but we have to stay on top of everything, because I think nobody knows what you want better than you, and I think that's the way we get things going smoothly. by being on top of everything that needs to be done, knowing the project scope, the work and the materials, everything like that, being compliant with the city codes. You got to know that for yourself. And having a general contractor's license, you do go through that whole training to get that. So it would help. It's not a month. You don't have to do it. We just did it to, because we were fresh starting out, so we did it. But you don't have to, but just know what you want and have a good person or have a good contractor, but you've got to walk hand in hand with him, making sure that he follows what you need done.
Yeah, and I mean, I can tell you from personal experience, I mean, I've listed properties for sale where, the owners, there was one recently, the owner was in Ohio, and I think he attempted to, just kind of sub out the HVAC and the electrical, and it was a total disaster. He lost a lot of money, and it was a really sad situation. So I can see where having somebody kind of be the point person would be really helpful. Do not get homeowner permits. This is interesting. Future liability will stay with you instead of the contractor that did the work. Pay whatever costs to have contractors pull their own permits and handle all inspections.
That's true.
I have a question about this, Lorraine. If a homeowner gets their own permits, I mean, listen, I'm thinking about this from an agent standpoint, if you pull a permit, right, and it gets, you go through and the city closes out the permit and you go to sell the house, if there's an issue, I typically don't go back to the contractor. I would go to the person that owns the property. So what is your response to this slide?
Well, and I'm not selling it from a homeowner's point of view. I really never thought about it like that. If I were, because I'm a contractor or, I have that ability to pull a permit, I would pull it from a contractor's point of view. I wouldn't. But there are people who pull homeowner. If you're gonna get your house fixed, you can pull a homeowner's permit. I don't totally agree with that because,
okay.
I agree with it.
All right, Rob, we're gonna go to the next one. Have a contingency budget. Oh my, 10% minimum, 15% is better. Lorraine, why do you have to have a contingency budget?
Snag, we've had that issue a lot.
Things like pandemics. I mean, just things that you never really think about.
And I remember that house where we didn't see the tree behind going through the house and stuff like that. When you tear up the house, you didn't see termites. Of course, you didn't see the septic tank was bad. You didn't see a lot of that kind of stuff in 46. We had to change out the entire plumbing system, the sewer line going to the city, all of that stuff. So that's something we never saw above ground, so those things. And you don't want to give a buyer that work, because that doesn't look good. For me, I wouldn't paint and powder it up and let it go. I wouldn't do that. Once I saw that, I felt responsible to fix it. So That's what I did. So there your agency comes in.
You switch down your audio just a little bit, because I think the frame is staying on you. It's not bouncing back and forth.
So turn it down?
Turn it down a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Is this better?
I don't know why. Is it, Zach, are you seeing me pop on the frame or no?
I've got it in the
oh, there you go.
side-by-side gallery, so I've got like everybody on the right and then the screens in the middle.
I
don't see the yellow thing go to me.
I can see it.
You can see it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's all we need. Okay, cool. You, a partner or someone representing the owner, should inspect the job site several times a week, daily, drywall tiling, cabinet setting, and final punch out. Well, yeah, for sure. Lorraine, how do you guys secure your properties during construction? Do you do put cameras inside? Is it just locked? I noticed that I think it's smart that you paper over the windows, and obviously you don't want people looking inside. You don't want people to know it's under construction, ideally.
Yeah.
What tips would you get around this?
So we block out the windows, as you know. We block out the windows. We don't do a lot of construction outside until the end. So it just looks as if nothing's happening. Somebody lives there, or we don't really we don't really put cameras. We thought about it. We haven't really seen the need to because we hadn't had any vandalism or anything like that. So we just block out the windows and make it appear as somebody's living there. Basically, that's what we do.
You know, I also noticed with you guys, I've got other clients that do this too. They post the L&I permits in the window. Is there a reason for that?
Post the online permits, you said?
Yeah.
You have to.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. What happens if you don't?
You have to post the permits in the window, especially if you're when your inspector comes, they want to see it, and it tells you please post this in your window.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right, so here we go. We're going to go through some house to homes flips. We're going to start with the first one that I met Lorraine and her sister Sharon at 6130 Spruce Street. This is a beauty. So anyway, first of all, I want to say, guys, you know, for everybody who thinks that this work is glamorous and you know, watch HGTV, this is what these properties look like when they purchase them. And then we went from there to there, which is pretty spectacular. But I'm going to just kind of scroll through this, and then I want you to share, Lorraine, what you guys learned, what you found, you know, any problems you ran into with this particular flip.
This was my biggest nightmare. This house was the worst nightmare. And that's where we met, right, Matt? We met at this house. Oh, you did before and after.
Right in this kitchen. I was standing in front of that refrigerator. Yeah, I remember that. That was fun.
Oh, Jesus. This is 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I can't remember. Oh, you really did a good job of before and after there. Okay.
Yeah, like I want to just put it on this one when we talk about it, because I think it's, you know, what struck me when I first walked through here was, you know, just the detail that, you know, it does not look like a flipped property to me. The way that you guys treated the original trim, the color choices, that staircase is really dramatic and gorgeous. I love how you kept the side lights and that cased opening into the dining room. What issues what was your lesson from Spruce Street?
This was, I love the house, don't get me wrong. So there are so many things about this particular house. As I said, this was our biggest loss. We didn't fully inspect the house. So there was a back door that was closed, nailed shut. So we didn't get to the back of the house. And in the back of the house, a tree was growing through the back of the house, a big tree, a huge tree, which cost a lot of money to take down and tear down the back of the house and rebuild it. That was one. And the electrician that I got on this, it wasn't anybody that I knew at the time. I was trying somebody different from a recommendation from another contractor. He ran off with our deposit. So he ran off with our deposit. So we had to start from scratch, and we over-improved the house.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
I didn't understand the term over-improvement. What does that mean?
Spend too much money making it nice.
You put more money into the house than the neighborhood would support. It's really a fine line. I mean, you don't want to, you know, I know that you ladies especially don't want to do things in cut corners. And at the same time, you know, I'm imagining you don't want to be putting Pella windows in a $225,000 house. All right, let's go to the next one, which is 7957 Rugby up in West Oak Lane. So there is the before picture of the kitchen. Here is the stunning after.
This one wasn't so bad.
This one wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
I remember that strange pole right in the middle of the room. You know, you guys got rid of that.
Because we didn't want to reroute it to spend that money to reroute it. So we made it like a column. If you could find that picture with the column in the middle. I don't know if you have that one.
I don't think I have it either. Okay, so I remember with Rugby Street, I think the challenge, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you ladies ran into is I think you overpaid for the property. Because I remember when I looked at, paid like 120, right? And the value, I think it's, what do we sell? 2 something, 201 or 202.
210, I think. 210 or 9, yeah.
Yeah, it's all right, 210. Yeah. So any issues with construction, or was it just a matter of that Remax agent selling you the property for too high of a?
That was it. We had to cut costs on the rehab budget. But you remember the Remax agent, huh? Right. Okay, so it wasn't. We didn't go all out. I mean, it looks good. We didn't spend a lot of money. We left a lot of things in place. We tapped into, the original plumbing. We tapped into the original electric. So basically, just updating everything. So not doing new wiring, not doing fully new plumbing. Just making sure it's good and supported. That's basically it. It wasn't a bad turnaround.
Well, and here's the thing, and I think you realize. I mean, this is, I think, one of the reasons why I really like yours and Sharon's work. A lot of these old houses had really great layouts,
Yeah.
Especially a 3-bedroom house like this. There's not a whole lot you need to change.
No.
Now, some of the 5- and 6-bedroom houses, you got to combine spaces or whatever, but for the most part, the layouts work, so to try to get in there and shell everything out and then redo everything, a lot of times, not only is it profitable, but it doesn't make sense from a design standpoint.
Are you taking questions, Matt? I see people holding a hand up. Are you taking questions now?
Anybody? All right, you guys, please chime in with any questions that you have.
Hey, hi, this is Nadine. Hey, Laura.
Hi, Matt.
Quick question. Beautiful job with the home so far. I was wondering if you have photos that you could show us of maybe the outside of the house and what it looked like before you rehabbed it, and just transition us into what it looks like after. And my second question is, how long do you take to rehab a home?
I'll answer the first one, Nadine. There are, Lorraine sent me probably about between 10 and 20,000 photos of each thing that you're looking at. So I'm sure there are exterior photos somewhere. I don't have them as part of this presentation, but I can certainly get them to you. I can email them over to you if you want to see what they look like.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
The purpose of we're just trying to go through, we just have a set time. So we're trying to go through basic stuff, and, you can ask questions. There will be email. Matt will be available. There are people that you can always send emails to, and, whatever questions you have, we can answer after.
So how much, but I think she asked a good question. How much time do you budget for these?
It all depends on the size and what we're going to do to it. Between 3 to 6 months, I would say is a good time, depending on the size.
All right, so Irving Street was in West Philadelphia. There's a before picture of a bedroom. There is the breathtaking after. Here's what the bathroom looked like during construction. There's the after. That is looking into the dining room and kitchen, and it turned into that. That's also looking into the kitchen and turned into that. Lorraine, you weren't a big fan of this house, were you? Sharon and I both liked it. You hated it for whatever reason. Why?
No, I wasn't keen on the spot, really. I wasn't keen on the spot. Sometimes I get a feeling and I just, I wasn't 100 in it. I wasn't all in. I even up to the end, I wasn't all in. It's just, I don't know. It was just a feeling. That's it.
So any issues? Sharon, you're on here, right? I think I saw Sharon.
She's sitting in front of me.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Great, thank you. So I'd love to hear your perspective. Let's start with Irving Street. I mean, were there any surprises with this particular? I think this one went pretty smoothly, if I remember correctly.
It did. There really wasn't any unexpected stuff happening there.
Yeah, there was.
It was straightforward.
It was pretty straight, very straight. Yeah, there was nothing unexpected here.
Yes.
Although, wait, was this the one? I think the only unexpected thing that happened is when we did the final walkthrough. Wasn't there all this stuff inside, a couch and whatever, and we needed to? Was that this one? I don't know.
Inside where? Say it again.
I thought this was the property where we did the final walkthrough, and there was a sofa and a bed and a bunch of personal property, and I think it was this one actually. And
Oh yeah, we have to pay to get the stuff
Right,
removed.
right,
Right.
true.
So she left all her furniture. So you do have pictures of that. You'd see all the personal. I do have pictures of that. All the personal effects. A lot of furniture. A lot of old. Oh yeah, that was true. So we didn't expect that. We thought it was going to be cleared out, and we had to pay for that. So yeah. So that's where your contingency comes in too. So that yeah, we had to dip into that.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think we negotiated that the seller pays $1,000 or whatever it was to clean that out.
Yeah.
Oh, right, 46th Street. Oh my.
Favorite. That was my
Yeah.
favorite.
All right, so guys, this is just a wall to wall. Wow. So this was a really big project. How
Yeah.
many was it? 5,000, 6,000?
About it was a big house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before, I mean, you can just see that it was it had so much potential. And you guys did such a spectacular
In the living
job.
room right now. This is the living room behind me.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, all of the original leaded glass. That was the entryway. Walk me through, how much work was it to refinish all of that, whatever it is, mahogany or oak or.
And we did a lot of ourselves because you really can't pay someone to. And I had a lot of fight back from contractors because they were like, "Oh my God, why are you trying to save this? Why don't you just gut it?" And you know, people want new stuff. I'm like, "No, I'm not. You can't throw this away. You can't get this wood anywhere. You can't get this kind of stuff anywhere." And we actually fired them. We fired the plumber who he was giving me a hard time, so I fired him and got someone else because I intended to keep the old trims, and I intended to keep everything. And
it would be to do that in a new house right now. I mean, it would be a fortune. So, but was it painstaking to? I mean, there's a lot of original stained wood in there. Did you guys have to sand it all and restain it all?
Water damage. We did it ourselves. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed this house. I actually did. Just turning it back to whatever it was, you know, back in the 1900s, whenever they built this house. Ever thought about, you know, the original moldings there on the closets.
Well, this is what it looked like, you know, back in the day, and it certainly didn't look like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. This property went on the market right when we went into quarantine, right?
When COVID broke, the first buyer walked in, bought it.
That's great. I mean, it's a testament to the work that you do, and I think it's also Lady Luck looking down because that was kind of a scary time, as we all remember. With such a huge, massive project, were there any surprises that you ran into with this house?
This was the one with the sewer problem. We had to dig down. They had a lot of water damage to a lot of the original moldings and everything. A lot of water damage and sewer backup. You know, we didn't know this, of course, so we had to dig down and repair all of that just to make sure that the buyers got a good product. You know.
Yeah. Anything else? I mean, it's this one I think went pretty smoothly. Sharon, do you have anything to add?
We took it floor by floor.
Not really, but I mean, the thing what I learned with this project is that we took it floor by floor.
From the top coming down.
Yes.
Fifth floor coming all the way down. I took it floor by floor.
But at one point it was scary, man.
Yeah, it was a little overwhelming when you walk in and you see this massive house, and at one point I was a little nervous. I mean, we've never done anything like that before, and it was a little nerve-wracking. Just if you started in and looked at the whole thing as one big project, but when we got in and we just decided, okay, get the plumbing, get the mechanicals in, and get that done. And then just start from the first coming down, the top floor coming down, and that's how we did it.
But I think that I hope it helped you realize, where your strengths are, because in my view, I don't know any other contractors or investors that I either work with or, whose properties I have sold as a buyer's agent that do this sort of renovation. I mean, so there's a niche out there for it, and I think you guys have really found that. Okay, so let's move on to your current project with this Greene Street. This one is currently under construction. So obviously the after photos are going to have a bunch of the construction materials in them. And so walk us through this one. I mean, this project has taken a while, right? What delays have you run into? Was it mostly with permits?
And the city and permits, and that was COVID. It. And COVID. 6 months of sitting doing nothing but twiddling our thumbs. That was it. Pretty much just waiting on the city, because this is the one with the neighbor. This is the one with the neighbor beside. You can't do anything with. They're so tight down there. It's, you know, you can't walk on his roof. Don't walk on my roof. Don't do this. Don't do that. You got to do everything by the book with these guys. So yeah, we had to wait until everything was straight as far as the city and the permits and everything. So 6 months. 6 months. And we had to we made a whole new floor. So we had to take off this floor. You're looking at this because
the top level, and here it is now. You guys dormered all of that out. I'm excited for this house.
And filling, yeah, it's.
All right, before we go into the next quick section, and then we'll open it up to kind of a roundtable discussion, any questions for Lorraine or Sharon on any of these properties?
The same contractor with each property?
More or less, yeah. More or less, yes.
75%.
75%.
All right, cool.
Lorraine, I have a
section is let's get it sold.
You had another question, Matt?
Yeah,
oh, there are more questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so quick question. As far as budgeting, being that you said it was sitting there for 6 months, how do you, going in as a new person, kind of know how to kind of budget just based on what you're doing? Like, how do you decide on all of that?
So we've never had to deal with COVID before, so this is all new. We just meet it where it is. What's happening is your loan is, because we have finance, we have the property finance through a lending company, and you're paying interest on your loan. That's basically what's happening. You're sitting there and you're paying interest on your loan while the house sits. Just hoping for a good sale to kind of recoup that at the end, you know, praying for a good sale.
The first property that we went through, they lost money, and unfortunately, you know, you might need to be prepared to break even or even lose a little bit on the first one so that you learn the ropes. I mean, there's no magic formula to this sort of thing, especially if you're getting into it for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, consider pre-marketing before completion. Have renderings of kitchens and baths. Many buyers will sign a contract pre-completion. This is interesting. I'm actually on another project working with a rendering company right now out of San Diego to do a rendering of a property that's under construction that won't be done until the fall. But this is, if anybody's any questions about that, let me know, because it's kind of cool. Use an agent. Thank you, Rob, for putting this in there. You know, Lorraine, I want to ask you, because I've worked for your brother before. Your brother holds a real estate license. Why would even a real estate licensee use an agent on the sale of the property? What do you see as the benefits?
You've been asking that one. Well, just having a license doesn't make an agent, Matt, does it?
Why?
It's like having a license. Does a license have a car? No. I think we'll leave this one alone. You're trying to get me in trouble. Stop.
No, I'm not. No,
but anyway.
I think it's helpful because, you know, a lot of people think, you know, what's interesting to me is I have a number of investor clients who have real estate licenses and they won't listen to sell their own property. And what they've said to me is, we're construction people, like that's not really our thing. You know, we don't know how to market and have connections and, you know, follow up and do that side of the business. And I don't understand the construction side, so I mean, I get it.
We have access to the MLS ourselves, so we use it for various things. I use the MLS for different things, as you know, just to see what's going on, what's happening out there, and get an idea of. That's what I use it for, just to educate myself. I'm not going to get up and try to sell my house, or have someone who's not experienced in doing that, or knows the market, knows. Oh, the same thing that happened with that Spruce Street is that before we met, remember that Remax agent. She had no idea how to price the house, so she had no concept of what the market value was for that area. So she went above market value. So I'm going off of her advice, and I'm going with her on whatever it is that she suggested, and she was totally off base. So as you told me, she hadn't sold a house in how many years, and she just decided, oh, God has sent us together to make this a magic partnership. Let's do this. No, didn't work out. So,
well, and so here we go.
Yeah.
Price shall be where price bands. Price bands. So this is an important concept, guys. When you are pricing property, you have to think about how buyers shop for property online. We all go on the real estate websites. You don't shop from 475 to 477, right? You shop from 475 to 500. So if you have a property priced at $500,000 and it's not attracting the right buyer, going from 500 to 495 or 490 is not going to attract any new buyers. You've already hit the buyers looking. You need to go to the next band, which would be 475. So you hit that 450 to 475. All right, so I'm gonna actually stop my screen share so that we can gallery. All right, so who has any questions for me, Lorraine, or Sharon?
Hey, Lorraine, I have a question for you.
Yeah. Back as an agent in our office, Lorraine.
When you look at a property, right, how do you handle the development side of things in terms of not over investing in the property, right? So maybe there are some finishes that based on the market, right? So based on that area that are a little bit overboard, because you can see, maybe you could get away with something like carpet in the bedrooms, or not having recessed lighting or something like that. Is that something you kind of have an automated process where that's like kind of your standard where you put that in anyway, or would you adjust it more based on the location?
I look at the comps first. Remember, I said I do my homework and what sells in the area. I look at what the renovations in that area have been. Of course, I as Matt said, I don't like to copy. I don't want to necessarily look like them, but I don't want to go too far off either. I don't want to look like the next house down the street, which has been a thing. That's our niche. We try not to look like the next house down the street. But we do walk through, and based off a walkthrough, I walk through detail and make my budget from walking through. I decide my budget by walking through the house. Of course, the contingencies, the things that I'm not able to see right away, but I make my budget and my ideas as I walk through the house. So I know exactly what I'm going to do. Most of the times I know what I'm going to do when I'm walking through it. If I see moldings, in the house, I've said that to Matt, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to get rid of that. I pretty much look at it and know that what I'm going to do to it, so I can know where my budget's going to be. If that answers your question.
I think one of her strengths, is she has in my opinion, a very kind of creative and artistic eye when she walks through.
Can you hack them? Matt, we're not hearing you. Okay.
There we go. I just
go ahead.
And so I think that's kind of a natural ability. There's a lot of investors that I've worked with that have a very formulaic approach to flipping property, and you got to be careful with that, because this is a very, very competitive industry. It's becoming more competitive, each month. I mean, it seems like there are more investors that are pouring into the market. So being able to produce a product at the end of the day that's a little bit different, a little bit better, then everybody else is critical to being successful. Good question. Who else has questions?
Do you have any lenders on today, Matt?
What?
Do you have any lenders online today?
Are there any lenders? No, but you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. Spring Garden Lending is a sponsor of Bridge Philadelphia. I've been wanting to connect you with them before, Lorraine. I'm going to send you their information. Did you have a question?
No, it was just for people I know. I see a lot of my friends on, and I know a lot of them wanted to get into the market. Some of them have reached out to me about that. I mean, they're in different states. A lot of them are different states. So I know things vary, but lenders are, nationwide, some of them. So I was just, wondering.
There's definitely a lot of connections through this network. So just, let me know. I'll email to everybody who registered and from there. Any questions? Charisma, Mark, Jeff? No. All right. We're 42 minutes. Thank you, Lorraine. What a delight.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
Seeing you in the 46th Street living room.
I love this room. I did, but that's the original flooring, by the way. We did the only flooring we did was in the kitchen. Remember, everything was original.
Yeah,
it was a beautiful house.
What color are those walls behind you? They're pretty.
We blended the paints, so the bottom is Sherwin-Williams navy, but the top is a blend of Krypton. What's it? Krypton? Is it? What's it?
It's like a light bluish kind of.
And we mixed it with the navy. Sharon said it's called Shireen. She said it's called Shireen, a blend of Lorraine and Sharon. She said it's called Shireen, but it's Clayton, or what is it? It's a mixture with we mixed it with naval and I can't remember. It's a K name, but it's Sherwin-Williams. It was Krypton. Sorry, it was Krypton. So we mixed it with Krypton and navy on the top.
That was the longest answer I've ever heard in my entire life. Right, longest answer to a question. All right, you guys. The next grid meeting is on Thursday, June 17th. It's on building a dream team to leverage and scale. I hope you all joined, and thank you for joining tonight. I'll talk to you guys soon. And thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Sharon, for joining.
Thank you.
Bye.